So today we're gonna go ahead and do a video on Dokkan difficulty, red zones, severe impact, and this is a Reddit post by the user HumbleZombie184. So huge shout out to you. I am 2 months late on doing this video. Hey, better late than never. Now I did comment on this post and I did read this entire little just presentation that Humble Zombie made, and I said I was planning on doing a video discussing this exact topic, and it's crazy because I actually was going to do a video on Red Zone's gap between all other content on the time of its release, but this guy created this chart and this is perfect, absolutely perfect. This entire chart was made by this person on Reddit. Anything I'm about to talk about on this exact chart with all these all this writing and stuff, it's not from me, it is from this person, so huge shout out to this person. And then he says, feel free to use any of these charts to make things easier to visualize. And he definitely made this a lot easier to visualize than I actually thought. So, with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. Let's read the entire thing out. I have all the events up just in case I want to go ahead and pull up a specific boss. So, yeah, let's go ahead and pull it up right now. I had to go ahead and download the image because it was a little too big for my liking. Okay, so how we're gonna do it is like this. Okay, I didn't realize I could just pull it up and down like that. Anyways, can you guys see the top? It says Dokkan difficulty, red zone, severe impact. That's what you guys can see at the top, but it's okay, it's just the title. So brief beginnings. When the game first released, basic Dokkan events were the hardest content in the game. Absolutely correct. Challenge events such as Boss Rush were fairly difficult when they came out due to the marathon nature of doing Dokkan events back to back. Very true. Because Boss Rush was... Damn, remember when Boss Rush was difficult? You know what's funny? I started in early 2018, so I can't even say that. Well, could you guys count me as like a Dokkan historian? Because I used to do a lot of research on some of those units for unit reviews. Bro, if I could tell you guys how many Living Ichigo videos, how many Rhyme Style videos, how many other videos, how many of the Truth videos I went through. I went through so many of these old Dokkan YouTube videos. I have at least watched hundreds of hours of footage. I've had to, because I had to do research on most of the units I've talked about. Now, would I be wrong on some of them? Of course, I'm human. I'm gonna get things wrong, and my research sometimes I can get things incorrect with how I go ahead and articulate things. But Boss Rush. Let's go back and talk about Boss Rush. Anyways, I'm a Dokkan detective. Dokkan historian. That's up to you to call me that. Anyways, eventually, two types of challenge events came out that were the two dominant events for a long time due to missions and stages constantly being added / updated. Super Battle Road, aka SBR, multiple short fights against multiple enemies where debuffs were allowed, but enemies hit hard, built for characters who could perform strong on turn 1 and turn 2. Correct. And then of course we have Fighting Legend Goku, aka LGE. One long fight against an enemy with many phases where defensive stacking would allow you to survive the later phases that hit harder than SPR enemies, and debuffs were not allowed, or are not allowed. Built for characters who get stronger the longer the fight goes on. So essentially the brief beginnings, to sum this up, the hardest content in Dokkan at first were Dokkan events. And then there would then come Boss Rush, of course, where it was a marathon, as Humble Zombie says, a marathon of Dokkan events to go straight through. And then we eventually get two sets of difficult content. One in 2017 for Super Battle Road, basically short fights where characters would perform strongly within the first, second, and third turns, where debuffs were very, very important. And for long events, aka the legendary Goku event, then we get IDBH, but I wouldn't really count that as a as tough. Certainly there is some, you know, scragglers, but that's not important. We would then get LGE, where the longer the fight, you want your defensive stacking characters to go ahead and build up to take down the UI Goku at the end of the fight. So we had short difficult content, that being SBR, and then we had long difficult content, that being LGE, which will come out in Goku Day of 2019. So Super Battle Road, I believe Super Battle Road came out in October of 2017. I think. Yeah, Super Bad Road, October of 2017, and Legendary Goku event, Goku Day of 2019. Let me double check that, just to see. It was October of 2017, right? It was. Okay, I was correct. All right, so a couple of days before Halloween of 2017. So going back on over to this post, sudden shift. So SPR, let me make sure it looks good on this monitor. Okay, it does. Perfect. We can zoom in a little bit too, so you guys can see it a little better. Okay, so sudden shift, SBR and LGE were the two main events, and characters that released would typically fit one of these two categories of content. True. However, a stage called God of Destruction's Assemble, aka God event, or it just says God, but it was called the God event. So the God event combined the difficulty. I'm reading this weirdly, excuse me. So God combined the difficulty of both stages. That's how he typed it. So I'm just going to read it like that. To put it simply, characters needed to be good on turn 1, but be able to handle the last phase of the Legendary Goku event. So basically, what he said in the short amount of sentences, I don't know how to say it, but he basically says that the God event was a combination of Battle Road and the Legendary Goku event. You know what's funny? I never thought of it that way. And even when I read this back when I first posted that, I never really thought of it that way. I said that same thing when I first read this post. I never thought of the God event as a combination of the Legendary Goku event and Battle Road. That is true. That is absolutely true. It really is. It really is. Wow. And I've never thought of it that way. So Humble Zombie, this is just galaxy brain shit that we're reading. So, okay, let's continue on. Looking at the graph, and I love that there's a graph right there. That's just absolutely beautiful. And then on every single one of these, the bottom of the graph is all of the, like, tough fights. All the tough bosses. So let's talk about it. So looking at the graph, every single God of Destruction stage does more damage on a super attack than the last phase of Legendary Goku event. But you do not have time to stack defense like in the Legendary Goku event. So as we can see on the graph, in UI Goku, the last phase of Legendary Goku event, his super attack damage is right over here at this little red dot. Let me go and zoom in more so you guys can see it a little better. So yeah, there goes Int UI Goku's damage right over here. And then there goes Iwan. There goes Hellas. There goes, what's that? There goes Moscow. I'm pretty sure he does the AoE super. Yeah, he has it down here. Yeah, he has all the little special things that the gods do. Yo, this is beautifully constructed. I gotta say that. Okay, so yeah, we have Hellas who switches her types and still does more super attack damage. Every single one of these God event bosses do more damage than Int UI Goku. That is true. That is absolutely true, and you do not have enough time to stack your defense like an LG. That's absolutely true. So all of these gods do way more damage than them, even on normals, right? Who's that? That's Beerus in his first phase. Yeah, even on normals. Yeah, yellow is normals, and red is super attacks. And bro, look how hard Beerus hits on his second phase. Holy shit. Bro, is that like 900k? Is that like 900k? He hits, bro. In the second phase where he turns STR, oh my goodness gracious. Anyways, let's continue reading. Zoom back out a little bit. All right, so on the top of this, LGE disabled dodge in the last phase, but many of the gods of destruction have a variety of effects that can be applied to the player, such as stun, seal, rotation locking, AoEs, etc. I'm not gonna lie, shout out to my guy Caleb, longtime friend of mine that played Dokkan before me. He said rotation locking is the most annoying effect in Dokkan for a boss to have. And I'm either gonna be completely honest, I know I'm not gonna lie, that is true. Rotation locking is So fucking annoying. I don't know what's more annoying, rotation locking or dodging. Like, excuse me, not dodging, but is canceling dodge, not dodging. Is canceling dodge from a boss or rotation locking more annoying? I'm not even gonna lie, those two are like there. They're like right next to each other because rotation locking can basically end the fight there for you, right then and there. Because you can get the wrong unit locked in the first slot, they get hit by a super or normals that they can't take, and you just die. Or you have a unit who relies on dodging, so on and so forth. Let's continue reading. To add on to this even further, unlike SPR and LGE, you are only allowed to bring 2 of the single item, making an already difficult shift even more difficult. In the God event, you were allowed to run 2 items? I don't remember that. Huh. Did I read over that? So to add on even further, unlike SPR and LGE, you were only allowed to run 2 of a single item. Interesting. Yeah, because SPR you can run 4 items, which is essentially up to 8 in total, because you have two of each. So you have 4 items. And then for LGE, you would also have 4 items also. But do keep in mind that there were 4 items for SPR and LGE for a reason. Because the units back then, there weren't enough units for both SPR and LGE to warrant Dokkan lowering the item count for both those events. Certainly so. And then for the God event, they lowered it to 2 items only from the 4 items. Interesting. I don't see even further. Unlike SPR and LG, you only had 2 items you can bring. I don't remember that. Wow. Okay. All right, let's continue on down. Now we get to the bread and butter, red zone. Okay, let's see what we got here. So, okay, it looks perfect. All right, so red zone. Now let's get to the biggest one. It's the bread and butter. The God event was a shift in difficulty, but we mellowed out over time. Very true. Most units that release could compete somewhat in that event, well, in the event. And since all the enemies had different typings, a unit that may not be good on one stage may be good on another stage. I keep reading this as if though I'm reading it in my own words. But all the enemies hovered around the same normal attack damage and super attack damage ranged between 500k to 750k for the most part, so a unit could be good in some but not good in others. Very true. Red Zone's release sparked the age of new Dokkan difficulty to concede with the release of 200% leaders. Bosses were doing up to 2 times or 3 times the damage, up to multiple times a turn, or doing AoE normal super attacks, well, AoE normal slash AoE super attacks that are hitting as hard or harder as the God of Destruction's super attacks. Each challenge event released after this more or less continued this trend of needing characters that could compete in the hardest phases of long events with little to no build-up. Just like the God event, you were only allowed to bring 2 of a single item. This meant that characters were unable to tank these attacks. Looked crappy, even if the rest of their kit was good. I'm gonna reread that last line. So this meant that characters who were unable to tank these attacks looked crappy, even if the rest of their kit was good. So same with the red zone, you can only bring 2 items. Okay, so we do have a graph here, right, that I do want to zoom in. It's on this other side of the screen, so we could just leave it exactly like that so it could fill up the entire thing. So the average God event normal attack was, does he have an exact number around here? All the enemies hovered around the same normal attack damage, and super attack damage ranged between 500k to 750k for the most part, so a unit could be good in some but not in others. Very true. So that is correct. A unit would be good in some God event stages and bad in some other ones, so it certainly evened out. But when it came to red zone, the difficulty spiked, as you guys know, and hence the 200% to skill age that Dokkan enters into, and basically makes a good amount of units garbage. We all know this though. That is a general consensus in the community. So this is the graphic he has. Red zone bosses damage potential output for a single attack. So normals. So Broly's AoE, the AoE super. So the Broly. So STR Broly. This is how much he did on a normal attack. Okay. And this is how much he did on a super. That AoE Broly phase, bro. That shit right there. Bullshit. I'm not even gonna lie. When I first versed this stage, this is how much he's doing in that STR phase. Absolute bullshit. And okay, this is where his normal attacks damage is at. Basically 400k on a normal, essentially. That's what it's a shade under 500k, so it's around 400 to 450k normal for the Broly, the full power Broly inside the last phase of the legendary not the legendary Goku event, excuse me. So the last phase of the Red Zone Broly event, the AGL phase, this is how much he was doing on a normal, around basically 450k on a normal, and his super attack damage was, what's that, it's like 1.2 million? I'm just going off of a rough estimate, but it's above a million. He can super twice. Yeah, Broly was definitely an annoying, tough fight. And then we have Omega. God damn. We have Omega. Wait, no, that's Red Zone Omega. Okay, never mind. That's the countdown super. But the thing is with Omega, he can super you for 1.6 million? 1.5 50 million? So, yeah, that's provided. But the thing is that I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Omega, you rarely ever got hit by a super. And if you did, you more so would put a character who can A, counter his super and nullify it, or B, countering nullifying is the same damn thing. I mean, technically not, because countering is for normals and nullifying is for supers. You can technically put a unit that nullifies a super attack right in front of it, or a unit that could just dodge it outright. So getting hit by a super attack it's just like a rare instance, really, because you could just blitz his ass and kill him immediately. But that does not really, that doesn't undermine how much damage Omega can do if that countdown super launches at you, because that is doing a lot of fucking damage. That is a lot of damage. And his normals will be a shade under 500k, so that's like 465 to 75k. And then Metal Cooler Core, of course, when he does a super attack, he raises his attack up, so that can be doing like up to over 500k in normal. Yeah, so after he does a super, it's like 5, maybe 600k on a normal when he does a super attack. But his super attack damage is 1.5 million. Metal Cooler Core is another annoying ass fight when he first came out. And then Cell Max is over here. He can do up to 3 supers. He is a boosted event. Just to put that out there. Technically wait. This is a Cell Max event, right? No, it's Red Zone bosses. Okay, it's Red Zone Cell Max. Red Zone Cell Max, he can do 3 supers. And he switches types. Okay, my bad. So this is Red Zone Cell Max. Red Zone Cell Max hits this hard? What? And he could do up to 3 supers? I thought this was the boosted Cell Max event, where you can just blitz it with like the movie hero characters. Damn! And his normal attacks were not really doing as much damage. Okay. And then you have Fusions of Masu. Bro. Fusions of Masu's AoE damage is what? Guys, Fusions of Masu's AoE damage hit 500k AoE normals. His AoE normals are almost doing as much damage as a God event boss's super attack. What the fuck? Look at the line. Look at it. It's like comparable. Even though it says 500k AoE normals. That's pretty fucking crazy. And then his super attack does as much as Red Zone. What? It's pretty insane. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, we have a couple more slides to look at. Okay, so non-Red Zone challenge events ramped in difficulty, which is true because you do have the little Mortal Will Wrath of Gods event, whatever you call it. Okay, so seeing this next graph will really put things into perspective about how Red Zone shifted the game's overall difficulty. Red Zone wasn't the only difficult event. Very true. Although it was certainly the most well-known and updated, other events comparable in difficulty arose. All those events made the events prior to Red Zone look like toddlers in comparison. Cell Max was a massive shift with the highest super attack damage at the time. Yeah, it was like 2 million, right? What was it? It wasn't 2 million? What was Cell Max's super attack damage? Holy hell. Oh my god. Cell Max almost does 2 million on a super. Oh my god. What the fuck? Okay. So Cell Max was a massive shift with the highest super attack damage at the time, true. And he could do it up to 2 times in a turn and locks your rotations, and your items are only limited to Senzu beans with little build-up time, because you can blitz the first 2 phases of Cell Max and then get to the final stage of Cell Max, or final phase, and he will lock your rotation, super you, and you're dead. Pretty much what it was. And that's why people hate that event. I will argue, I think Cell Max is one of the worst designed events. In my opinion, it's one of the worst designed events in Dokkan history. And the reason why I say that is because, is it fair to say because it's a boosted event? Because Dokkan has given us boosted events. I'm not going to say because it's a boosted event. If I said that in the past, I take it back. I will say definitely it's because of the design of the event. The first couple of phases get completely eviscerated. And then you go into the 3rd phase, and like he says, which is true, he can super you up to 2 times, he can lock your rotations, and you're only able to use 2 Senzu beans. Bro. So Dokkan chooses your item for you. The first couple of phases are easy as hell, and then the final phase can hit you with a 1.8 million super. 1.8 to 1.9 million super, and he can do it twice. It's crazy, because if he locks your rotation on the wrong unit, you're forced to use an item. Pretty much. You're pretty much forced to use your Senzu bean. You have to. Unless it's a unit you know that's going to tank Cell Max's super, you have to. Because if you do not, that unit in the first slot, what's Cell Max's AoE? Well, excuse me, not AoE, my bad. I was thinking of Zamasu. Cell Max's normal attack damage is 500k. Most units are not taking that. Most units are taking about 300k in normal, 200, 300k in normal in that, and they're dying. At the time, of course. Obviously, Cell Max's event could be completely eviscerated now, but let's continue reading. So Cell Max would still be very difficult even now, but it eventually got buffed, so certain characters and categories do bonus damage to the event, aka the boosted event name that I gave it. With items being limited, bosses doing more and more damage, overall player HP not really increasing. I would say that isn't true. That isn't true for certain teams, because on Future Saga you can be at some ridiculously high amount of HP, and on Earthbred Fighters too you can also be on like a superbly high amount of HP, provided you do have the right characters on the team. You can be at some pretty high ass HP on some certain teams. I don't think that's true. On most teams, in today's meta, I don't think that's true. Let me continue reading though. More damage, of course, with items being limited, true. Bosses doing more and more damage, true. Overall, player HP not really increasing. I don't agree with that one, but let me keep reading. And other mechanics being layered on top of the damage, true. It makes a lot of these events unfun for people in many ways, as unless you have the best of the best units with dupes or amazing luck, you're going to get destroyed constantly. That is true. That is true, because luck does play a big factor in Dokkan. Certainly. Dupes, I don't think dupes plays a big factor in Dokkan. I feel like 55% units, in today's meta, I feel like 55% units, this is going to be crazy to say, no? I feel like free dupe units, let me think about this before I say this. Do free dupe units, do they feel better than they were in the older metas of Dokkan? Ooh. I'm not even going to say that. We're going to leave that dupes one. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say, because it doesn't sound correct. Because I feel as if though free dupe units, even back then, can still get the job done. Could they? We're not going to dwell too much on that. So, So the best of the best units, that is true. I'm not even gonna act like it's not. You do have to have some powerful units to get certain events done. Because guys, the first team I used, it's like, I got insanely lucky. You have to either be insanely lucky, like he says, or you have to have some of the best units in the game to get the new fights done, because fuck it. Most events do require the best units to get certain events done. That is true. Certainly true. Now, the dupe aspect, I don't know. That one is, talking about dupes is a bit touchy, because could you say that units were better? Were units better or worse at free dupe? And when I say free dupe, I mean 55% back then compared to now? Because I feel like 55% units now are better. I think they're better than what they were in the past. Because I feel like free dupe units of what I've seen back then on some of those old Dokkan videos, do I take that back? I don't know. That's a tough discussion. That's a tough one. Because you could say that free dupe units were performing well back then. You could say that. Like, for example, during the Legendary Goku event meta, Tech Trunks, Stacker, and the free dupe, completely fine. LRK and Khalifa, pre-Easy A, Legendary Goku event days, free dupe, completely fine. But the thing is that that is the best of the best units. And that is without dupes. Okay, let's take a look at this graph. I'm thinking way too far into it. I love when I'm thinking like that, though, because it definitely, like, yo, the passion I have for this game is fucking crazy. Anyways, so non-red zone bosses, potential damage output for a single attack. So normals, I mean, goddamn, look at the normal attack damage for UI Goku at the final phase. God event average, yeah, these are some low ass, like, damage they're doing. So epic battles first set. Oh my god, that's so goddamn low. And then Cell Max is right there. And then you have the Fighting Spirit of the Saiyans and Wicked Bloodline event with Cooler. The Fighting Spirit Goku. It doesn't compare to the Cell Max event, by the way. Okay. The second fight on average for the Epic Battles event. And then you have Sin Shenron AoE normals, 500k. You have Omega Shenron AoE normals, 500k. The Mortal Will Zamasu. And you have a fully charged Trunks. Bro, Trunks? Look how much damage this... Guys, compare these older fights to what we have now. Cell Max is right here. This is Cell Max's... The Cell Max fight, not the Red Zone fight that I was looking at before, right up here. The Cell Max Red Zone is right over here. So we're not talking about Red Zone, we're talking about non-Red Zone fights. This is insane. And then, of course, we have the Fighting Spirit event with from the Worldwide Down Celebration of 2022. Bro. This is... Yo, like, this is like, it's a gap. It's a literal gap. I mean, although this part of the fight right over here, this is the only dip. But outside of this dip for the Call of Epic Battles, for the second set, outside of this dip, this, like, the Cell Max fight, the Fighting Spirit of the Saiyans and Pride of Wicked Bloodline fight, the Mortal Will... The little Mortal Will fight with the Trunks and the Zamasu. And then you have the Omega fight. Holy shit. Wow. Okay. That definitely puts it into, like, a very good perspective. This is a very good perspective right here. These are older events, right? Like, you know, the Legendary GT Goku event, the Legendary Vegeta event, the Legendary Goku event, the God Destruction event, and of course, the Call of Epic Battles, not really matter. Of course, the Call of Epic Battles right over here too. Then you have the Fighting Spirit Wicked Bloodline event. You have the little Mortal Will event with the Trunks and the Zamasu. You have the Sin Shenron event, the little Shadow Dragon Saga event. Then you have Cell Max. This perspective, this says a lot about the game. This says a lot about the game for sure. And then right over here, this also says a lot about the game too. Certainly. Because we go from the God event The God Event average super attack damage right over here and the average normal attack damage. And then we got the STR Broly AoE phase. We have the AGR Broly final phase where, of course, he's canceling dodge throughout the fight and he can super up to 2 times. And that super is like 1.2 million damage, 1.3 million damage. And we have the Red Zone Omega, because if you can't kill Omega fast enough, he hits you with a super attack. He drops a super attack on your head that does about 1.6 million damage. I don't know the exact number. That's still a lot of fucking damage. Look at that. And of course, he has the little normals that's a shade under 500k, but that's still a lot on a normal. Not many units are taking that, gang. Not many people are taking that, guys. And of course, you have Metal Cooler Core. He raises his super after... he raises... Not his super, my bad. He raises his attack after he supers. And then he does like 600k in a normal. And then his super attack damage, forget about it. His super attack damage is literally Omegas, but he doesn't have to count down. He's literally Omega without a countdown. That's doing just like a little bit less on a normal, but even then, that's still a lot of damage. It's funny because Metal Cooler Core is very comparable to the first Red Zone Omega fight. It's crazy. Look at the graph. It's very comparable. They compare in normal attack damage, and they both compare in super attack damage. They're not far off at all. It's crazy. They took Omega and just rebranded it. Pretty much. They pretty much did. And then we have Cell Max, the Red Zone Cell Max. I did not know Cell Max did this much fucking damage on a super. This does not seem real. But I do gotta remember, for Red Zone Cell Max, that I did bring some of the most powerful characters in the game against that fight. So that's probably why it didn't do that much damage. Certainly so. And of course you have possibly the toughest fight in the game, that being Red Zone Fusion Zamasu. Look how much damage he's doing on a normal. Are you serious? Look how much damage he's doing on a fucking normal. This is out of this damn world. This is ridiculous. What is that? What is that damage right there? Is that 600k in a normal? I don't know the exact number, but that's above 500k right over here. That's a lot of damage for a normal. He has 500k AoE normals, and then this regular normals right here. Is that still... He would have put it as 500k right over here? That's still a lot. And then super attack damage, forget about it. Bro, he's hitting a shade under Cell Max's damage. Insanity. Absolute insanity. Okay, let's move on over to the overlook. The overall look and why everything is so difficult. All right, so let's see. So the reason why current challenge events are as difficult as they appear are due to a number of core issues. Overall player HP not increasing much over time. I feel like I disagree, because there are a couple of 200% teams that we have gotten that you can be at some seriously high HP. What is considered a good amount of high HP? I think 700k. I feel like 700k. No. 800k. 800k is really high HP. Average HP is like 600k to 750k. Has to be. If you're below 600k HP, it has to be below average. Completely below average, for sure. Okay, so overall, player HP not increasing much over time, which I do disagree with. I feel like some teams are some pretty high-ass HP. Items being restricted to a single item, I'll give you that one. Events giving you very little time to build up, I'll also give you that one. I'll give you that one. I will definitely give you that one for sure. Yeah. The bosses being unable to be debuffed to nearly any extent outside of a few minor examples. True, because I feel like if bosses were able to be debuffed, they wouldn't be hard. Think of about how many characters that we've gotten in 2023 that can stun, seal, attack, debuff, all that other good stuff. What else? That's partially a reason why I think that Dokkan created the disable enemy action thing. I feel like they created that to put that on units, to add that as a debuff aspect. I don't even know how to word that. That worded so weirdly, but I feel like Dokkan added that to combat against the complaint that bosses can't be debuffed, but bosses can't be debuffed because it'll make them too easy. So yeah, I think they added that disable enemy action just for the red zone. It had to be just for the red zone. Certainly, right? Or maybe they just wanted a new damn debuff in game. Anyways, bosses drastically improving in damage over with previous damage over the previous with other mechanics. That's true. That is true. I do feel like AoE normals is artificial difficulty. I certainly do. And AoE normals have been a thing in Dokkan for a very long time. But the thing is with AoE normals is that they didn't become very prevalent till recently. Yeah, within the past years. They didn't become prevalent until recently. I still think AoE normals is artificial difficulty. And the reason why I say that is because it adds an extra layer to the fight that makes it a lot more difficult for players. Certainly. Could you say that's fun for certain people? You got me there, right? You can say that it is more fun, it makes the fight more challenging. But me personally, I do think it is artificial difficulty. Now, is artificial difficulty bad? And I did see a couple of people ranting about the Dismal Future Red Zone being like too rehashed, so to say. Yo, I could just do like a little discussion. I would just love to sit down in a room with you guys and just talk about Dokkan. Yo, I love this. I absolutely love this. I love talking about Dokkan. Modern units releasing / easying with major flaws that restrict their full potential, assuming they're even good enough at full potential. That is also true. We have had a couple of EZAs that were duds. And one dud I do want to say is transforming Vegeta. That global is getting soon, in like a day or two, maybe tonight. I don't remember. Transforming Vegeta is one that comes to mind, certainly. I feel like his EZA could have been done way better. That one did disappoint me, for sure. But then you also have units that are good on the other side of the spectrum. You know what is a good example of this? Hold on. I think a good example of this is Physical Beerus. And it's weird that I'm saying Physical Beerus. Let me cook for a second. So, Physical Beerus, right? Did Physical Beerus release before the Dismal Future Red Zone? I'm pretty certain he got his EZA before the Dismal Future Red Zone. We get the Dismal Future Red Zone in August, right? Obviously, it's August, September, with all those stages. Yeah, so he does. He is... I'm pretty sure he releases as an EZA during the LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku little Tanabata thing. So yes, he is a very good example of what this guy said, where modern units are releasing / EZAing with major flaws that restrict their full potential, assuming they're even good enough at full potential. Full potential, I said potential. I'm sorry guys, a little dyslexic. So now this guy has one major flaw. Only one. And that's the fact that his orb changing is restricted to going up against a Realm of Gods category enemy. And that was a issue, certainly. Because all Beerus needed was a orb changer with him, and he will be looking good. He either needed to orb change or have an orb changer with him to be great. Because he can have up to 70% damage reduction, and he can hit stupid heights of attack stats, right? While having a very nice amount of defense post-super. Yes, because he gets 150% attack and defense when he takes an attack, and he can have, 200% defense at the start of turn. That's weird. I don't know why I thought he had more defense on him. And he also only gets 150% attack performing a super attack. But yeah, going back over to what I was talking about, this guy wants to be going up against a Realm of Gods category enemy. So that is this guy's major flaw. But this does coincide well with this example because his major flaw is restricted for his full potential to get that 70% damage reduction behind going up against a Realm of Gods category enemy. And at the time of his EZA, there were no tough Realm of God category enemies, right? No, there weren't. There weren't any tough Realm of Gods category enemies that I can think of off the top of my head. No, I don't believe there were. If I'm wrong, please let me know down below because, you know, I could be wrong sometimes. So we do stumble upon August of 2023 where we get the Dismal Future Red Zone, and then as time goes on, we get to little part 2 and all the other good stuff, and then we get the hardest fight in the game, that being Fusion Zamasu, and then this guy's potential is completely unleashed. But I did only use this example because This is true. Modern units releasing an easy aim with major flaws. That is certainly true. They can either release with major flaws that lock their potential behind a bullshit ass restriction, or they could just suck ass completely. Okay. Alright, I think I've read all of these already. Okay, so let's read the bottom half of it. So it says, bosses are hitting so hard that a single punch can do 90% of your health, which is very true. This is also why dodge has become such a hot talking point when it comes to building units. Very true. I will not act like dodge is not good. Dodge is very good. Me personally, I love building my units with full additional, and I have a reason why I love building my units with full additional. Now, the reason why I love building my units with full additional is because I love seeing a unit's super attack animation over and over and over, and it has been like that since I first started playing Dokkan. I love units that do multiple supers because it lets me watch their animation over and over and over again. That is the reason why I build my units with full additional. Now, that's me personally. That's just me. And it's funny because, I mean, I could also say I build them with full additional so I can have them get their defense multiple times. But really the thing is, my true reasoning on why I build units with full additional is because I love seeing the animation over and over and over again. Like, for example, LR Final Form Cooler. I love offense. I love Cooler. Cooler has really fell off of the face of the earth because AoE normals completely turn that guy into turkey meat. So Cooler is a very big example of this, but I would argue building Cooler with full crit is the way to go because this guy, Cooler, can do like 4, 5, 6 super attacks. My Cooler supers multiple times. I'm happy. I love to see that. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I love a unit that does multiple super attacks because I can watch the animation over and over again. And Cooler being that example because Cooler has a cool ass super attack animation. Because he does his little 18 key where he launches your ass into the rock, he steps on your ass, and then he blasts you. And then he does his 12 key, he grips your shit. Rock. And then, bro. No, he grabs you and then he takes you down to the water, I think, right? Yeah, I think he takes you into the water. Yo, and I just love that. Now, I will not say dodge is bad ever. I think dodge is very good, and is it possibly the strongest mechanic in the game? It's there, certainly. You can talk me into saying that dodge is the strongest mechanic in the game. Certainly. Me personally, I think the strongest mechanic in the game is foreseeing super attacks, only because we have so many units in this game that if you're able to see super attacks, you put your unit in front of that attack, you put your strongest defensive unit in front of that super attack, saved, run saved. So I think the two strongest mechanics in the game, I can say dodge is the strongest. Why not? You can talk me into it, but personally, I like foreseeing super attacks as the strongest mechanic in the game. You can say dodge to me, I'd agree. I wouldn't even fight you over it. So back to reading this. I've been going off on tangents all video, so this video is going to be a long video for you guys. If the unit can't tank a super attack, then people will often say to go full dodge. Oh, that is very true. I will say, you dodge motherfuckers though. You people that love dodge, you guys, you motherfuckers go crazy over that dodge shit. Like, crazy. Be like, go full dodge. Full dodge here, full dodge that. And I'm like, calm down, right? Calm down. I only put full dodge on units that it makes sense to put full dodge on, right? Unless I feel like going full additional and then throwing my little 3 dodge on them. Because what I do with my units is that I build them full additional unless the unit clearly needs full dodge, I go full additional. So I can see the super attack again, because, I love seeing multiple super attacks. And then I put 3 dodge. I put 3 dodge on all my characters. I will say that. All my characters at least have 3 dodge on them. Listen, I get every path filled up. I don't really care about crit. I could agree with people saying that crit is kind of worthless. Is crit worthless? Crit is kind of worthless. There's so many units in game that can crit, but I love additional personally. You guys already know that, and I do put dodge on my characters. I put like 3, maybe a 5 dodge. Compared if I have a little 5 dodge equipped. I'm getting off a tangent again. again. So even if it counteracts with unit's design, since a dodge can be the difference between 400 500k damage taken, even if it's just a punch, aka a normal attack, I believe. On top of the damage increasing, AoEs and other mechanics are not only forcing new units to be stronger defensively, but to be strong defensively without needing to attack first or build up all that much, if at all. True. Very, very true. I think one great example is Limbbreaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. Amazing example. Absolutely amazing example. To close off, the graph on the left is most of the events and their super attack and normal damage. Understand how the shift was with Red Zone's release, and remember that the graph doesn't take into consideration all the mechanics and number of attacks these bosses can do, making an already jarring shift even bigger. Now, if I did get any words wrong with, like, you know, pronunciation, excuse me, because, you know, I woke up literally about an hour ago, and you guys are gonna be getting this video like in about 20 minutes from me starting recording this. Like, well, 20 minutes after I'm done editing, I mean. But yeah, I did fumble a couple of words, but don't mind that. I'm still waking up, and yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Shout out to Humble Zombie. My mouse turned off too as I was reading. Humble Zombie, this is an amazing graph. Amazing graph. Absolutely amazing. Let's go and take a look at this little graph. It's a little tiny on the side, but you guys can get like a, you know what, we can just zoom into it. And I can just move my camera. Move my little self right over here. Okay, so as you guys can see, right? We have most big bosses, potential damage output for a single attack. And from here, we have Legendary Goku event, God event average. We have Legendary GT Goku event. We have the Legendary Vegeta event. And then we have the collection of epic battles right over here. Why do we have the collection of epic battles all the way over here? It should have been right next to the AoE Broly, no? And it's really whatever. So from here on out, like this part on out, is straight just mega Laya damage. Look at this. The spike is ridiculously crazy. Look at all this. Don't count the little call of epic battles, but this is just ridiculous. I think that's about it for me, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get me some water. I appreciate you guys watching. You guys are the best. Shout out to Humble Zombie. Seriously. Shout out to Humble Zombie. You get a follow for that, my boy. You definitely get a follow for that. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. You guys are the best. I'll catch you guys next video, and I love you all. This graph was articulated and created quite good. Peace.